Audiotree Live. Today is March 31st, 2025, and I'm your host, FINGY. Before we get into today's session, I do urge you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can stay in the loop with all amazing music we have going down in this studio. With that being said, we're on all streaming services, so Spotify, Apple Music, you name it, we are there. But today, we have Fashion Club in the studio. The solo project of Pascal Stevenson utilizes sound synthesis to generate audio that cuts through the mix deep into one's sense of self. They're tapping into emotion that's so large it's cinematic, encouraging anyone that's on the search for electronic trailblazers to tap in. So without further ado, let's take it away.
but held up to the light. I almost find a reason to be kind. When my memory gets wiped, it's almost like the history isn't mine. What if changing doesn't change a thing? I still tear my world apart just to keep from wondering. Apprehension could send me to my knees. Still left open like the gates. I wouldn't have to feel a thing.
Hey guys, this has always perplexed us here at Audiotree. Over 88% of you that watch our show are not subscribed to our channel. Kinda wild, right? So could you please do us a favor? If you like this show and you like discovering new music and you wish to support us, the free and simple way to do that is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And our commitment to you, if you do that, our team will continue to book the best bands we can, listen to your feedback, and book who you want to hear on this show, continuing to capture and share astounding music to you all. Thank you. Wow. I had to close my eyes the whole time because there is so much happening in the mix right now that I know. I feel like I'm getting it all, but I know this is the type of music I re-listen to 20 times and I hear new things. So thank you so much.
Thank
for your
you.
efforts. Let's start off with Faith, right? I read that was like a arpeggiated, vocoded kick at the beginning to get that freaky texture going. When you make your music, do you approach it from a sound sculpting perspective first, or are you more melodically and rhythmically driven?
It's both. Lately, I've been trying to focus on writing songs and then letting the kind of sound design and production stuff come later, just because I feel like it's easier to trap yourself when you are only focusing on production and making tracks without thinking of vocal melodies and stuff like that. And I've trapped myself out of a lot of otherwise interesting songs that way. So now I just focus on writing the best song and then know that the sound design, the production, all of that stuff will come later.
Interesting. Yeah, because it is an endless world sonically. You could be chasing your own tail. When was that? When did you finally actualize that lesson, or was that something you have always known?
That was kind of for this record. The first record I made was a lot of trying to fit vocals into something or into songs that were already totally finished, and it was just a honestly really uncomfortable experience. So I kind of figured that I had to do it this way. I think I hadn't owned an acoustic guitar in forever, so I bought one kind of in the lockdown and just started writing songs on that, and it made things honestly a lot easier.
Yeah, that last track, you had those beautifully captured strings that were being thrown left and right that really held your voice beautifully. So it's interesting to know that you're mixing with this instrumental technique in mind, but then referencing dubstep mixes. I read something that you were trying to figure out how to carry your low end. Once you get to the part of producing it through, how much would you consider your mix to be a part of your production?
I personally find them pretty inseparable. I like to, even when I'm working with other people, mix things that I produce on, just because I produce with the mix in mind. So it's pretty hard for me to separate the two, because I think the mix is going to kind of inform what you're doing in production. If you have really heavy bass or these really full frequency synth sounds that I like to use, you maybe can do less or do more based on what what is being pushed forward in the mix. So
I was also reading on this record, it seemed as though you were finally finding a comfortable spot for your vocal range to sit in. So as you were reapproaching this project, was that kept in the forefront when choosing the production, the mix, and the instrumentation to hold the vocals instead of mask them?
Yeah, totally. I think the vocals are produced a lot. There's plenty of affected vocals, but I think there's always a fairly dry vocal up front in a lot of these songs, especially the quieter ones. I try to have moments where it's just my voice with very little vocoding or pitch shifting or delays or reverbs or all of that stuff. Whereas before, I think I was kind of tending to try and bury my voice in effects to, I don't know, hide it. But I think just being in a more comfortable place to sing, it's easier to just be all right, here it is.
Yeah, and your dynamics are beautiful on it too. When I was closing my eyes listening to it, you have these belting moments and then these just getting sucked into these super intimate moments. And usually when I hear people sing dynamically, they're almost trying to metaphorically capture them soaring, whereas this feels like a expansion and compression of deep pain and emotion. Are you consciously trying to make these like motifs within your vocal deliveries and within your production?
I mean, I'm not a very trained singer, or I don't think I'm a incredibly like naturally gifted singer. So I think that's kind of all I have is the emotion of it. So I kind of just try to lean into that because I have a lot of vocalists I like don't have maybe like the most technically proficient voices, but the emotion is always like the most important thing for me. So I feel like if I can just put that forward, it'll be enough for people that are seeking the same thing that I am for music.
Yeah.
Which is like who I'm writing for, basically, anyways.
No, and I mean, your work is so important. The amount of women producers is so small. Queer women producers, smaller. Black trans women producers, smallest. If you were to examine the margins of these intersections, what are some of the silver linings that energize you to create the music that you do create?
I think, I don't know. It's hard to think of anything that is like totally outright positive, but I think I have a really realistic view of success and what that looks like and how achievable that is because of like my place in the world, where I think a lot of people that maybe can look at the landscape of the music industry and be like, well, there's all these people out here that look like me and act like me and are in the same like position that I am, that are really successful. I feel like they maybe have an outsized view of where their place in the music industry is or where they should be. And I think that can lead to a lot of like resentment and stuff. And for me, I'm like, there's not many examples of like how I should be doing or what my success looks like. So I'm kind of just happy with where I am.
I was reading that you were, a frequent at the Swell in LA, and at the same time, you studied music tech at Cal Arts. So just existing in both those environments, they're so, to my idea, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems as though they're very polarized. Did you experience any dissonance in learning in both of those different environments?
Yeah, I mean, my whole teenage life was like playing in, indie bands and punk bands and stuff, and playing DIY shows and doing that once, twice a week, literally, playing at the Smell 2 times a week. And
Sick.
Going to school for kind of like basically music production, I fell into a place where I was like not really making a ton of guitar music. I was really focused on making dance music and making ambient music and like diving deeper into computer music, basically.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just like flip-flopped between that for a while until I figured out a way to like marry the two, but it was not easy at first. It felt like a really clear delineation where I had to like either be doing one thing or the other, like really pursuing one thing or the other. And it doesn't feel like that anymore, which I think is nice.
And is it like the guitar itself, you think, the bridge that kind of drove you to synthesize both of these areas?
Oh, I don't know. I think it goes back to a songwriting thing and like a kind of finding an expressive way of singing thing, where I think just being able to write songs that I was happier with, it became less important what the like medium was. As long as I was like conveying the message. So then it just becomes easier to be like, this song is going to have some guitar on it because you're like, the song is good, it will carry it. It's not so strictly locked into like, techno has these elements or like rock music has these elements or whatever.
Yeah. And coming from an authentic place, that's naturally guiding it. Do you think that when you were struggling to cut through your own lyricism and portray who you were then kind of stretching, trying to figure out what instruments would work to deliver something that is maybe not necessarily deliverable?
Yeah, probably. And then I think you find that, and I do think that I choose instrumentation based off of that, where it's like, oh, this needs to be delivered really delicately, so it's going to be the kind of muted piano or the acoustic guitar or just the strings or whatever, and like then this needs to be so like overwhelming and full of emotion, so it's going to be like 10 synths stacked on top of each other and strings and all of this stuff. So yeah, it's just it's playing with dynamics again and like emotion.
Yeah, and you stacked those synths. That was insane. It was like
I do,
on Confusion.
hence having to look up all of the mixing techniques, because I was like, there's a lot of stuff going on in here.
If I may, after the session, I would love to look into your DAW and see how you did that, because damn. And to close it out, you know, when your audience and your admirers take in your music, what message are you trying to have them receive, and what image are you trying to have them perceive?
I don't know that I'm trying to project something so specific. I just really want people to listen to the music and feel moved, and be able to relate to it, because that's why I listen to music. And it's like, I get a lot out of music, so I just want people to have that same experience with something that I've made.
Yeah, well, you've succeeded in that today, my friend. Would you mind playing a couple more?
Yeah, of course.
Feel like a wasted time. So young with the face just like mine. An ache that's hard to define. High on visage, eye to right. What if it's all in my mind? Intertwined in the words that I've assigned to an empty sign.
Fashion Club, you just tore a hole through this channel. Your work is historical. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you to our crew for capturing this. We could not do this without you. And thank you so much for watching. By the time you are watching this, it's already on streaming services. So Spotify, Apple Music, she's there. And while you're at it, if you'd like to subscribe, that'd be super helpful to us. Thank you again so much for watching. My name is FINGY, and we will catch you next time. Peace.